Welcome to the Sit Down With Sibs.
It made sense.
Fish.
Because there's a lot that happened inside that.
Okay, Cassandra, we're literally gonna go straight into it.
That's fine.
It's actually the first time I've ever done that. So basically, I'll tell you what my thinking behind it is.
Right.
And so for those listening, is that I've literally just met Cassandra, literally probably about 30 seconds ago.
Yes.
And the reason being is that how often have you listened to like a podcast where literally they start speaking and they say, oh yeah, we were just speaking off camera about this.
Yeah,
And you're like, oh, I wanted to know
You
that.
wanted to be there because they're like earlier on when we were talking before, but yeah,
It doesn't-
I get that.
It doesn't have the same effect. Like,
Doesn't.
and there's, you know, Howard Stern, the interviewer, he doesn't meet his guests until literally the second they're in the studio and they get
Okay.
brought on and showed on. But anyway, that's the backstory. But how are you doing?
Makes sense. I'm good. How are you?
Good. How's your lockdown been? I guess that's probably the first question that everyone always asks. How's your COVID been?
People, how's your COVID been? Well, I had COVID, so that wasn't great.
Okay.
But everything around that period actually was okay. I survived it, as we all did.
How badly did you have it? What are your symptoms?
Not that bad.
Not that
Well,
bad.
I mean, I was in my bed for a bit and I couldn't really eat, which for me is like a a dire thing. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't taste my food. I was really upset. But it wasn't. I wasn't in hospital, which is good. So yeah, I was able just to stay home and isolate, and people sent me food to my
nice.
house.
That was a
like,
nice thing about
great.
having COVID is like you were like looked after. Like
Faffed
you were,
It
over.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. I had my friend just drop off some shopping, and I was like, oh, I didn't eat any of the things that she bought me, but I really appreciated the sentiment and the thought that she bought me the food, and I was like, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've also just realised, and I think everyone's probably wondering, who is this strange person
Yeah.
wearing a beanie?
I chose the brightest beanie possible. I was like,
Bright
oh my
beanie?
god.
This is my new co-host, Jess Stephen. I've known Jess since we were 11 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
We haven't seen each other for what, 6-7 years?
Long, yeah. Probably
Um,
longer actually.
Probably a bit
Yeah,
longer than
yeah,
that.
Since like high school.
And we've been speaking for a while now about
Yeah.
getting her onto the podcast.
Yeah.
Jess, do you want to like introduce yourself, and then Cass, we're gonna probably introduce you as well.
That's fine.
So my name's Jess. Hey guys. I'm London-based content creator at the moment. Kind of going through the motions as a lot of people did through lockdown. Yeah, like I said, I've known Sibs since, like literally like 11 years old. So yeah, we've reconnected. He's finally got over here post-COVID. So
Took
well,
long.
I say post-COVID, but like is COVID really finished? I don't
Yeah.
know. But you know what I mean? So
Who knows?
yeah. So yeah, now I'm here. We creating things. We gonna do things.
And hopefully a long partnership. in
Yeah,
the future.
definitely. We got. I mean,
And then I want to talk about my guest. I'm so excited you're actually here because, so I'll tell you how I discovered you. So I'm really big onto my British TikTok. So like,
he loves it.
yeah, it's so weird
Right.
because I come from South Africa. I don't know if you picked up from my accent.
Yes.
And so like, it's really weird. My whole life, I have been more acclimatized to British culture. So
Oh wow.
all my music has been grime music. And literally I can
So cultured.
Brian, I know the Stormzy is. I know Gets.
and like at home, because my dad's English, Sky News would be the only thing that would be on really.
Oh, wow.
So I knew more about what was going on in England as opposed to what was going on in South Africa.
That's kind
So-
of a South African dad thing, though, isn't it? Just Sky News playing all the time, and he's like, "Oh my god," and you're like,
And they're saying they're stressed,
Yeah.
and they're watching the news with
Literally.
their hands behind their back.
exactly.
And how I came across you was I was going through TikTok and I saw the one with the Squid Game,
Yeah.
and I loved it. And I was
Thank
like,
you.
"You're brilliant." And then I went through more of your content, and I was like, "You're so funny.
Oh,
I
thank you very
can't
much.
wait to have you on." And especially, would you classify yourself as a comedian?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Depends on how funny I feel on that day. No, right now I would classify myself as a comedy writer.
Comedy writer.
Comedians never felt that comfortable with me to say, but I'm learning. I'm currently doing a master's degree in comedy writing, so I want to write television shows and
Okay.
audio comedy and whatever. So yeah, comedy writer, sometimes comedian. if I wake up on the right side of it.
Yeah, and you've got a super interesting story, and like obviously Jess and I have been doing a lot of research into you,
Oh wow.
especially like
I
your
was like, do I?
Sounds,
What
sounds
did
a
I
bit
do?
stalkery, I'm sorry.
literally like the weirdest thing about doing podcasts, especially when they're guest orientated, is you're for like leading up to it, you're consumed about your guest, like your whole life revolves around your guest. It's a bit weird.
Thank
but-
God you haven't written a book yet, because I don't know if I would have been able to read a whole book in like a day, like trying to learn everything.
But there's so much I want to talk to you about. But I wanted to sort of talk about where you're from. What do you do? Just for people, for extra context, everyone.
Okay. Well, I'm from Birmingham. Birmingham is the second biggest city in the UK. We get mocked quite a lot for our accents, quite a lot. But I moved to London last year, so right before the pandemic happened. I moved out here because I got a job on a Christian radio station, and which was great. And yeah, for the past, I'd say 3 years, maybe 4, maximum 5, I've just been doing online content. So I started off accidentally, to be fair. I made motivational videos saying, yeah, guys, you can do life and it's great and find your purpose. And then I saw someone doing sketches once and I thought, oh, that looks quite cool. I could do that. So then I started to do that. And then I kind of just continued with it. I tried stand-up. I tried different acting parts, presenting jobs. And so now I do comedy writing. I present on a radio station, 11 shows a week, which is quite a lot, but it's good. I like it. And yeah, I do online content as well. So they're my 3 areas at the minute.
Has this always been something you've been doing, or is it quite a new thing?
Which part?
I guess there was a lot.
I was gonna say, you sound like someone who just likes to be busy all the time. Like,
Well,
not 5
I
minutes of
I
free
like
time.
to explore things. So when I
Yeah.
was younger, I used to do acting. I used to do English literature. I used to read a lot. I used to write. And then when I started to go off to uni, I didn't think you could have a career in these things, which sounds crazy now because you obviously can. But when I was going there, I was like, I can't study drama because what am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
And I thought, I used to do art. I thought, I can't study art because who am I going to be? Picasso. So I just didn't know what I was going to do. So I did journalism, which it was okay. I started to work for a newspaper. I realised I didn't like the news. It's very negative. I'd go in every day. They'd be like, yay, we had an accident. And I was like, okay, someone died. Yeah. And I was like, this isn't good. So I didn't want to do that. But yeah, so I'd say what I'm doing right now, I've been doing it for about, properly taking it seriously for about 3 years.
Amazing.
Prior to that, I was just on the internet posting videos. I didn't think you could actually have anything from it. And then when everything kind of changed and I started to get work and I started to get presenting jobs, I was like, no, I can actually live this life that I really want. And I am. And yeah.
When did that blow up happen?
2018.
Do you know the exact date?
Yes.
You know, it's so funny. We were all speaking about this earlier, but we knew the exact moment where our life changed. Like,
2018,
Yeah.
I started to do videos on Love Island in the UK,
Yeah.
and they started to get a lot of recognition. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. What's
Was it on
happening?
YouTube or
On Instagram.
Instagram? Okay.
Yeah, so I started to get, they just
So
started
this
to
is
get
before
shared.
Reels and
Yeah.
that.
This is
eh?
before Reels. Like, this was when I started to make videos on Instagram when it was just 15 seconds long. So you had to like fit everything into 15 seconds. But these videos were just literally voiceovers. I just started to do it randomly because I watched Love Island and I thought, I bet that guy would want to say something else. And I just started to say what I thought he would want to say. And people really liked them. And they were like, yeah, continue to do it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of started to change. That's when I started to get brands contact me and say, oh, can you come work with us? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like Amazon. And I was like, okay, sure. I could do a video for you guys.
Yeah.
And different comedians in the UK would like message me and say, oh, I love what you do. And I was like, oh, wow, this is starting to change a bit. And then I got on the radio and then I started to present different things. So yeah, 2018 was when I thought, I could take this seriously and live a life that is something that I always thought I should live. But I just didn't know how I was going to get there. And it became very clear, this is probably the path that I should be going down. So yeah, that was the exact date. I don't know the month or nothing like that all the
Yeah.
time. 5 p.m. on May the 5th. I don't know that. Like, but yeah.
Oh man, and then can I ask, what's your background, like family background?
My mum is Italian and Scottish.
Okay.
My dad is Jamaican.
Okay, and then how did they? Was it quite accepting of environment in terms of going down that route?
Wow, kind of. So I've got 7 siblings,
Mad.
and yeah, a majority of them, if not all of them, bar my 2 brothers, work for the NHS or in healthcare. Even my parents. I mean, my dad is a little bit more creative. He's a photographer on the side, and but my whole family work in the NHS, nursing, phlebotomist, one that they take out the blood, whatever that is.
Yeah.
That thing.
Blood person.
The blood
You
person.
nodded. I'm guessing you said yeah.
No.
She's like, I don't quote me. I'm just here. Like, phlebotomy. I think. But yeah, so when I started to do all this stuff, there wasn't shocks because, like I said, I used to do acting when I was little and all this creative stuff, but I just didn't know what I was actually going to do with it. So they wasn't surprised, but they didn't really understand it, as a lot of people didn't. Because back when I was doing these videos, being an influencer or a content creator, it was popular, but it wasn't that popular in that even to this day, my mum doesn't understand. If I say to my mum, I've got a brand deal with this company, she won't know what that means. She'll be like, oh, well done.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Like,
So when are you gonna get a real job?
no, like that. I remember once my dad, in fact, when I was doing all this stuff, we had a massive argument about this actually. He had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend's son did videos, production in some different kind of way. And he was like, oh, why can't Cassandra be like him and get all this money? And I was like, but Dad, I'm actually doing quite well. Like, he just didn't understand. And I guess when it comes to parents or people that just don't really get it in terms of creativity, it's not something that they're used to understanding. They're used to, get a corporate job, finish uni, go to work. And if you're not on that ladder, your success, they don't really understand it. So I just said, nah, it's cool. I kind of get it. I didn't really understand it myself, but I kind of got it. And I was like, well, I'm making money from it.
Yeah.
So this is okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were accepting. They're very supportive. My siblings are very supportive. They give me video ideas all the time, and they're like, you should do this. You should try to get a video with that person, which is great. But whether they get it sometimes is questionable. But I don't really need them to get it. I just need them to clap.
Yeah. I need them to like, comment, subscribe.
That's literally
all I
it.
need.
Like, comment, subscribe, share with your family and your friends.
Which
That's
reminds me, if you're watching this, like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
And share. Share is like the new
Share.
like button, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's like where the gold is.
Algorithms are tough, man. And
Dude.
so I need to ask you, because you've gone viral. Like, you've gone super viral.
I did go a bit viral.
That's Squid Game.
One of your video
Accidentally.
went 1.3 million views last time I
Yeah.
checked.
Yeah.
What did you know this would go viral as soon as
No.
I posted it, or was it just
You
like
know
a
what's
luck
crazy? So I made 2 videos in the same day, right? After a long hiatus of not making videos because I'm studying at the moment and I'm working full time. So these 2 things I've just found content creating, it's been a bit slow. But on this day I kind of said, no, I'm going to make 2 videos today. Both of them are going to be about Squid Game. And I posted the first one thinking that one was really funny. I personally liked that one more. So I posted that one thinking, yeah, this is the funny one. Did okay. It got like 20,000 views, and I was like, yeah, that's quite decent. And then the second one, I didn't really like that one. I threw it up because
which
the one
one?
that went viral.
The one that went
South London one.
the South London
Yeah,
one.
like-
no,
That one and the one before
the
that.
the
that had
1.3 million one was the one where it was like, move, man.
That
That
one.
one.
So I didn't really. I just threw that one up because I thought, ugh,
Why
I mean,
not?
I made it, so I might as well. I thought it was funny. But
Yeah.
it was like 15 seconds, and I just was like, yeah, I just put it up, and then it just blew up, and I was like, oh, okay. And my boyfriend was even saying, he was like, I don't want to offend you, but I actually thought the first one was funny, and I was like, me too. Like, he was like, I get why that one went viral, but I actually thought that one was funny. And we
Yeah.
had like a big discussion about it, and I was like, no, I agree.
I also the Stormzy one, the one with the Stormzy song. That one was I love that one.
Thank
that was
you.
really good.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
look,
one came off the-
both were bangers.
Back off.
I'm
yeah.
convinced that TikTok has this rule of thumb where they're like, decide how much effort you've put into a video, and the least effort you put in, the more they're like, let's make this one viral.
Honestly,
You think a
honestly.
video, concepts, you film it, beautiful angles, they're like, no.
too much effort.
Yep, too much.
Take it back.
Yeah, literally. You're trying too hard. I'm sorry. No, it's not working.
I completely agree.
And based on the content that you put out, is obviously a take on London. How have you found adjusting to London? Because you've only been here 2 years now?
2 years.
2 years. How have you found adjusting to London?
Well, I mean, I haven't really had a chance to properly explore it because of COVID. So when I moved, it was COVID within like literally a month, and everything was shut for like a year, which was terrible, to be fair. But since then, it's been really great. I wanted to move here because I really love the energy of London, and I love how everyone's doing things. And, you know, you could meet someone in the street and they're a photographer and you're like, okay, cool. Or I just love the goal-getter mentality that people have. So I've adjusted quite well, to be fair, because I just love let's go and live life. And it is a really beautiful city. There's so much to do. There's so much to see. I used to live in a place where it was to walk home from work, I had to walk over a bridge. And it was just, the skyline was always just so beautiful to see. So I've adjusted really well. Housing wise and rent.
Sheesh.
Whew, gosh, my bank account is not adjusted to this very well, but
that never gets
else,
better.
No. Right. I was hoping that maybe someone somewhere would just drop the rent, but no. Everything else is been great. I love it here.
Oh, nice. Because I've just moved here. I'm fresh off the boat. I landed 2 weeks ago.
Starry-eyed.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So I still haven't.
To be fair,
London still hasn't defeated me yet.
You've hit the ground running.
Yeah,
I don't know. You're quite on top of it, so good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Yeah. So by way of context is, when I was in South Africa, I was an attorney. I guess I was studying to be an attorney, and then I was doing my apprenticeship, and then I quit, and then I was like, cool, I want to go be an actor and do podcasting and TV presenting. So that's why I wanted to ask you about sort of like what's brought you.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I think for me it was very important for me to be in London.
Yeah,
especially because like you be able to get guests like you, and whereas in South Africa it's like it's a little bit more saturated, as well as it's just there's not as much of a
it's a lot smaller, so like people are not the industry's not as big, I'd say, and the awareness of like different like podcasts and stuff like that.
It's strange that you say that though, because people say that about London. So a lot of people will be like, London's just so saturated, and they move out. So I know a woman called Miss Drew. She is from the UK, but she recently moved to Ghana because she said there's just so much more opportunity out there. London's just so saturated. So it's interesting hearing what other people think outside of the UK when they look in. It's an interesting thing, yeah.
But I guess it's that thing though. It's like where you come from, you always think there's better. The grass is always green on the other side.
Yeah. I think it's also because I was saying to him that I have a YouTube channel and I make YouTube content, and we want to go the beginning of next year for like 2 months maybe. Because she's also never been, and
to South Africa,
yeah. And he was like, well, why do you want to go back? Like, we're in London, and I'm like, I've been here for 6 years, so I feel like for me, it's not that there's not opportunity. It's just that I need a change of scenery to re-spark my motivation, and also my audience need some new scenery from me, if that makes sense. Because I can only do the same kind of vibe vlog or video as many times, you know. So I think it's also got to do with that, like changing and a fresh slate for your mind.
The new
you know
spark,
what I mean?
100% makes sense.
Exactly.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to move from Birmingham, because I just found it. I mean, I've lived in different places in my life. So I've lived in Madrid when I was 20. I moved there for a year. You know, from there I visited different places in the world. I went to South Africa only about 7 days. Yeah, I loved it there.
Where did you go?
Yeah. When?
Where?
We went to Johannesburg.
Oh.
Is that not?
It's the same. Cape Townians are just never gonna give you a reception for Joburg. Like, no offense to our Joburgers, but
it's like I don't know how to compare it.
Okay, let's say you land in London for the first time and you go to like Luton.
Oh.
Okay, and that's Luton is the example that you have for the UK, and you're like, wow.
So is Luton Johannesburg?
Luton.
Is it? Because I thought Johannesburg was like the place.
So it's like it's where people go to make money, and it's where like the work is.
Yeah.
Whereas like Cape Town's like mad beautiful, but this is like there's like an ongoing rivalry.
Damn, I was cheated, and I've been telling everyone I've been to South Africa before.
Yeah, it's because
Joburg's
also closer to Kruger, so everyone's like, I'm going on safari. I'm going to Joburg, and you're like,
we're getting get cancelled by Joburgers after this.
Wow.
But there's like it's like the same like north-south rivalry that's here, you know, like it's like all the Joburgers slag off the Cape Townians, Cape Townians slag off Joburg.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
That's
Joe
true.
Burgers think that we incredibly like clicky. They're like, oh, those Cape Town people have such an attitude, and we're like,
Is
well, have you seen
it?
Cape Town? Just saying.
We have reason to
Yeah.
have one. Like,
Are
oh
Are people more friendly in Birmingham?
100%.
Oh, really?
Yes. I love
Yeah.
London, but
Yeah.
the people can be quite unfriendly sometimes. For example, I was talking about this with some of my London friends in that we say thank you to bus drivers because it's just a standard thing. You get off a bus and you're like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
In London, they don't do that. And it's like,
That's so
when I
weird.
first got here, I was like, but he drove us. You need to say
Yeah.
thank you to him. He took us very safely. But
They also
yeah.
look at you weirdly. They're like, why are you talking?
Yeah, like they don't want you to say
Yeah.
thank you either. They're just a
Yeah.
bit like in their own little box. They
Yeah.
don't want you to communicate. They just
I
want to
think that
drive
they-
their bus and go.
They're probably so scared because every time someone does speak to them, they're like shouting at them or like asking them really aggressive questions, and they're like, let me drive my bus.
Just
please."
sitting there,
Yeah.
get on with my day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have found that the further up you go, it is
Mm.
slightly more friendlier.
Yeah.
But I do love London. Sometimes I don't want people to talk to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to be
Sometimes-
headphones down.
Yeah, sometimes I just don't want to communicate with people, and so I quite like the unfriendliness of people
Because
not
you're so
wanting.
busy here. You're like, dude, I just want to get home.
Just want to get
Yeah,
home.
yeah, it's bad,
yeah,
isn't it?
Mm.
yeah.
Have you been to Manchester? What's your view on Manchester?
I've actually never been.
we
I went for like an hour and then I came home.
really.
Yeah.
Oh, Manchester, honestly,
Mm.
Man United fan.
Yeah,
That's
really?
that's a
Are
whole
Are
other.
you a City fan?
That's another.
I'm not
Birmingham
anything
conversation.
fan. I support who wins.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, nice,
So-
nice. I'm glad that you're so open about that. You just like that. I just winners only. Manchester is amazing. We were
Is
there for
it?
5 minutes, and people were friendly to us. They spoke to us, like told us where to
Wow.
go. Like it was so cool. And I feel like it's kind of how London was like 10 years ago. It's like up and coming.
Mm.
All the cafes are starting to pop up. The social clubs, that kind of thing. So
A lot of people are moving to Manchester. I've seen a few influencers that have said, yeah, I'm going to just relocate to Manchester.
yeah.
Mm.
So I was thinking, I mean, me being from Birmingham, I will always big up Birmingham. So I'm always like, no, move to Birmingham.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking, well, what does Manchester have that other places don't? I might have to
Mm.
visit. and
It's
see.
obviously a lot smaller. Like, don't get me wrong. It's
Yeah.
like pin size compared to London, but the rent is affordable, and
Yeah.
it's like got the social scene of London still.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
What's like Birmingham slang? Like, what's good
Slang?
Birmingham slang? Yeah.
Proper Brummies will say, you're right, Bab.
Right, bad. What does
You're
that
right,
mean?
Bab. That means, are you okay, person?
what about Tararabit?
Ta-da, bit.
Ta-da, bit.
What does
That's
that mean?
very,
That means see you later.
just means bye.
Bye.
I don't know why there's so
Yeah.
many.
Yeah.
That's very brummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say things like that. Yeah.
Tararabit.
Ta-da, bit.
My
That was quite
stepdad
good,
always.
to be fair.
Thank you.
That was quite good.
Thank you. I'm gonna replay this podcast for him and be like, Brommy said it's good. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
But I wanted to talk to you about your TEDx talk
Yes.
because I thought it was a really cool piece and very well delivered, by the way, as well.
Thank
We
you.
were both saying.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I don't know. They just sent me an email one day. No, I know some of the organisers. So it was based in Birmingham, and I think they wanted to get certain Birmingham voices on there, and I just know some of them from the creative world, and they were putting together the panel. So they contacted me and said, "Do you want to do one?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." They said the concept is future or something like that, and so they gave us complete creative control of what we could say and what we couldn't say. And when I came to write it, I just really thought about what I would maybe want to hear, something that I felt like people could relate to, something that is close to my heart, because as much as comedy is funny, because that's the whole point of comedy, I do just think that laughter is a gift. I do think just the simple fact that when you smile and you're not actually happy, your brain thinks that you're happy, and then you get happy. Like, that isn't, as much as it's like a really small thing, I just don't take that for granted, because I'm like, well, that's a science to the fact that something as simple as that. So I think laughter, sorry, I'm going to say laughing, it's not a word.
That's the Londoners coming out.
You know, I'm
Ting,
just
ting.
getting ting ting, like laughing and that, like, no, it's all over the place. But laughter is really important. And for me, like I said in the TED Talk, there's been so many times that laughter has got me through certain things, my family through certain things. And when I really looked back and I was like, actually, no, comedy has played a huge part in my life before I even realized it was playing a part in my life. So yeah, that's how that came about.
And I want to contextualize it as well, because people might not be familiar with what it was. It was called Laughter in Horror is Good.
Something like that.
It was something along those lines.
along the
But essentially, the whole everything you spoke about was essentially that through a family's difficult time, that you found the best coping mechanism for that is laughter. So I have the same sort of like approach to sort of tragedy. I think it's always, those who've experienced the most tragedy tend to sort of like always deal with it in that way.
Absolutely.
You know, whereas when it's unfamiliar, you kind of are very sensitive to how to deal with it. It's like, am I dealing with it the right way, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but what I wanted to say is, I have this awkward thing when I'm told bad news, or when it's something's very serious. I laugh, but it's just my natural reaction, and it's not because I'm taking the piss out of it, or because I don't think it's that serious. It's just how like my body copes with it, and I guess it's probably like a relaxing mechanism as well, because it's like, holy shit, that's a bit hectic.
Yeah.
And then you deal with it.
I'm the same. Like, if I have a fight with someone and we look at each other and it's dead serious and stuff, I'll start laughing, and then the quickest way to annoy someone who's already angry.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's in the corner like, yes, so she does that.
I get this.
Yeah. But I'm exactly the same, because I think also when it's like a tense kind of situation, like you said with your sister, you guys weren't sure, you couldn't read each other and how you'd react in that situation. That laughter just kind of puts you on the same kind of level a little bit. You're like, okay, we still know each other, we still here,
exactly.
you know.
And that's the thing, like when tragedy happens, you kind of, it's just so difficult to deal with. And it's not to say, I mean, I think I said it in the talk as well, but it's not to say that you just laugh about everything in life.
Yeah.
Just sitting there laughing, really serious.
You just be diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
It's not
You've got
that.
5 days to live. Lol.
This is hilarious. It's not that, but it is just in those moments where it's just too much to deal with. I think you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to force yourself down that road. You don't have to sit in that. And in that moment, like you said, we still know each other. That was a really important thing, because it was almost like we didn't really know each other, because sometimes sad times or hard times can make it so that you don't feel like you know anyone and you feel like you're in this by yourself. But that just made us know, no, we're not in this on our own. This is a really difficult moment, and we are still here as us. And it was just a really quick little thing that happened, but I just remember it was like something that she even recorded and said, you know, in that time, for context, my sister lost her baby, but in that time she said that was one of the things in about how many months that actually made her laugh, and she appreciated it. So when I was sat there like, what do I do? Like, do I laugh, do I not? She said no, she actually really appreciated that. So yeah, I feel like sometimes things are really heavy, and sometimes we feel like we have to be in that, but actually you don't. You can just come away from it, find some light, and then maybe come back and visit it when you feel a little bit less. It's not going to consume you. Yeah,
and it's a good perspective. And there was another really sort of like touch point that I really wanted to speak about was, you mentioned the barriers that you had in sort of pursuing the path that you wanted to take, which was the presenting. And you mentioned from being from Birmingham, you were told that you couldn't do X, Y, and Z. And I want to talk about that a little bit more, especially with regards to how did you like break through those barriers? Because I think people always find an inspiration from like people who have done that, right? So how did you find that?
I think, you see, I don't know, because I very distinctly remember a time when I didn't believe I could do anything. Yeah. And then when I think about being that person now, I'm just not that person at all. If I want to do something, I just do it. And I'm like, yeah, of course I can do that. Why would I not be able to do that? So it's weird, because I don't know when that transition happened, and I don't know there was not like a distinctive moment that I woke up one day and said, wow, I could do what I want. It was a very slow journey of just tackling that thought. Okay, so why don't I think I can be a radio presenter? Because someone in uni once, some lady from the BBC, she came in and said, well, people from the Midlands don't really make it on the radio that much because their accents aren't that, you know, they're regional, and people don't really like regional accents. And that just always stuck in my head, like, okay, well, I can't be a presenter then because no one likes my accent. So then tackling that thought and saying, actually, no, I can be if I really want. And then forcing myself to go out and get onto different radio stations and seeing that they really liked me. And I was like, okay, so I can be that. So it was just, I think a very slow journey of just breaking down different thoughts. And it's not to say I'm completely there now, because even now I still have little thoughts and I'm like, I wonder if I can do that. Like, I really want to write a sitcom, and I'm currently I'm working on one for my course, but I really want to take that.
You can do it.
I can do it.
Yeah.
But in my head, there's always like a little thing of, but is that actually going to happen?
The way I see it is, if you've broken down one barrier, I mean,
You can break them,
down
and that's
more.
what it is. I think when you start to break down them initial ones, it's like a floodgate. You kind of tap at it, and then one day it just goes zoof, and that's it.
Yeah.
You then start to think you can literally do anything in the world, and that's kind of it. But there's not like a distinctive moment that I can say, yeah, that's when I really started to believe. It was a very slow, getting different brand deals, and I was like, oh wow, I could get that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even the other day, getting 1 million views on my page. I used to look at other people. I think literally the day before, a few weeks before, I was looking at someone's page and I was like, oh wow, they've got 1 million views. It'd be great to have 1 million views. And then within like a week, it just happened, and I was like, oh wow. So these things, they're not like,
Right?
yeah, like they're just not huge mountains sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just, things can just happen, and when they do start to happen, you're like, no, life is it's fluid. You could do what you want, and it's for you to do what you want. If you don't want to do what you want, then you're not going to do it. But yeah, it was a very slow thing. And like you said as well, for you, where you took yourself out of an environment, or you want to go back to change that, me moving around has really helped.
Yeah.
Just moving into London, I've lived in Coventry, like I said, I lived in Madrid. Different places just really help to open your mind to say, no, I could do what I want. Like, life is here, and you can just decide what you want to do. And go for it.
And you know what, like, one thing that just stuck with me, that what you said was, it's always jarring to me how much people don't realize how strong their words are. And it's horrible that it sits with you as opposed to it sitting with them. It's being a creator, it happens a lot more than, I guess, because you're putting yourself out there so much more, and people are constantly saying like negative things and stuff, and our brains are like functioned to actually focus on the negative as opposed to the
100%.
positive.
I'm sure, like, in TikTok or on YouTube, whatever, you'll get like 20 brilliant comments, and you'll get one slightly negative comment, and you're like, that's the one you're gonna think of.
And you sit there all day thinking about
Literally.
it. So frustrating.
So
Very
annoying.
frustrating.
And it's
Yeah.
also
Really
probably
frustrating.
some person that's not even happy with themselves, and it's like, why do we even put any value to their words?
Yeah.
It's like these random people on the internet. Do you know what I mean?
It is a really frustrating thing. But I think I just learned to not. For example, for this video that I posted with the 1 million views, I've only had about 2-3 comments of people saying, well, this ain't funny. But I just deleted them straight away. I was like, well, that ain't staying on my page.
Bye.
Like, I'm not. It's my video. And I never used to do that. When I first started to do videos and people used to comment really negative stuff, I remember once, I think I've still got it somewhere in my phone, but one of the first really negative out of the blue comments I got was someone, and they wrote a huge paragraph in one of my videos, randomly saying, you think that you're so funny and you're not, blah, blah, blah. And this is the part that always stuck with me. They said, I really hope you struggle in life. And I was like, out the blue, and I read it, and I was like,
Jeez.
why? Why? Yeah, and I was just like, wow.
That's some projection if I ever saw it.
They want me to struggle in life. Why? Because they don't think I'm funny. I didn't get it. And so I think from then I said, okay, because that really affected me, and I was a bit down about it. I was like, why? What did I do to you? But I think from then I said, actually, no, if I do see negative comments, I don't have to keep them on my page. If you want to say it over there on your platform, go ahead. It's not, but don't come onto my page and say anything negative, because I'm going to block it and delete it immediately, because I don't have to consume that. It's not for me to internalize. So, yeah, it's hard.
It's always so strange, though. It's like, why do they feel the need to voice that? You know what I mean? Like you said, like, think what you want in your own world, but why the need to comment or...
I think it's just when people get very frustrated in our own lives, people need to get that out somewhere. So they see someone doing something and they need to get out their frustrations. Maybe they've just lost a job, or maybe they're not doing what they want to do. So they just feel that frustration and they have to put that somewhere. And unfortunately, they've come across your page and they've thought, all right,
and you're the victim of the day.
you're the victim, and you've got all these views, or you're doing really well. And so they're going to be like, right, I'm going to bring you down because I don't feel good in myself, which is I don't hate people like that. I just think it's sad, because I would want you to be better, and I want you to not be in a place where you feel like you have to be on the internet spouting hate, because you must be in a really miserable place to be doing that. So I'm just more like, sorry
Yeah.
that you're there.
That's like Fern Cotton. I spoke about her earlier with you, but I'm sure you know Fern Cotton. She was saying that on one of her podcasts, someone commented something really like awful, like it was like really bad, like dark, and she messaged the person, like DM'd them, and she was like, "Hey, like, can you just tell me what that was about? Like, what is going on here?" And this woman was so apologetic, and she was like, "I'm really sorry, my dog died and I had a really bad day," and like all this stuff. And she was like, "Your thing just had something that annoyed me slightly," and it was the first place that she felt like she just released the stuff, and she was in the end very embarrassed and apologetic. But I think it's always more about them than it is about
100%
you.
is you can't take it personal. Like if you see someone doing that, you can't, because there is definitely something that's happening in their life, and it's not an excuse. It's not to say people should do that.
Yeah.
But there is definitely something that's happened that's made them feel like.
Yeah.
And you can't. I just don't take. I mean, there's some people that won't find you funny. That's okay. Like not everyone's gonna find me funny. That's fine. But you just have to take it with a pinch of salt and kind of just think, I'll pray for you, innit? If you're spiritual, I'll I'll
sending good vibes.
Sending good vibes, positivity your way, because I don't know, like it's
But I want to introduce like a segment I will play with every guest.
Okay.
This could be the first time Jess is doing it with me. It's called Believe the Hype or Overhyped. So basically overrated, underrated sort of concept. So we're going to start off light. Okay, and that's why I have my phone in my hand, by the way. Squid Game.
What is
Believe the Hype or Overhyped?
Believe the Hype?
Really?
100%. I really loved it, and I think...
Did you watch it with the Korean or did you watch the English dub?
No, I watched it with the Korean.
Yeah.
Nice.
I tried to watch it with... Because I watch a lot of anime anyway. And so for me, it wasn't like a problem reading the subtitles. And I did try for literally about 10 seconds. Me and my boyfriend were sat there. We saw it quite early. So before the hype kind of happened, we watched it before that. So I had no idea what it was about. I thought it was something funny, to be fair, because the colours were really bright. And I was like, oh, that looks squid.
Wow.
When we started I had like no concept of anything. So when we started to watch it, we watched it for literally about 10 seconds with the American, and I said no.
Must have been a bit of a shock.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I said, are you cool with me? And he was like, yeah, fine. I said, fine, because I'm not. It was very difficult for me to I just wish that they had got Korean voice actors.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, right? Apparently what's happened is that a lot of the characters, what their words have been lost in the translation, especially with the subtitles as well as the voiceover work.
Yeah.
Which is, for me, that's frustrating, because I value like artistic integrity as lot, and I want the writer's words to come out exactly how you wanted it. So that's frustrating. So I haven't watched it yet, but it is on the list.
With regards to that, I would say overhyped, but the acting is incredible. So from like a certain point of view, the storyline a little bit overhyped, but the acting worth the hype because it's amazing.
Yeah,
like
it
the
is amazing.
the cinematography, the acting, that's incredible. So
yeah.
And then the next one is grime music.
Oh, Believe the Hype. I'm a grime music fan, so I have
Who are grime artists? I'm obsessed. So I could talk about this for another 45 minutes.
look at his face. He's like smiling ear to ear.
We're on to my topic. I've waited so long.
I need to discover new music.
There's no one new that I'm listening to at the moment, to be fair. But I'm from Birmingham, and we have a huge grime scene. So I used to listen to people like, obviously, JK. There was a guy called Mayhem, Saf1, all these different Rem Treks. There was a guy called, he does poetry now. His name is Casey Bailey, but he doesn't do grime music anymore. He does poetry, which is really great poetry. He's now a spoken word artist. But yeah, so I
Was that me? What was that?
That was me.
Uh,
I'm just gonna leave that there. Put it away. But yeah, so I listen to those people.
Nice.
I do love Gets. I'm a fanatic. I'm a what's the word?
Fanatic.
Gets fanatic.
Is there any other music that you like listening to?
I like. It's gonna sound like a really basic answer, but I like all music.
Like
but I think, I mean, I love jazz.
Yeah.
I love. Sometimes I don't like to listen to things with words because I don't want to hear no one's words. I just want to listen to something. And jazz, I've always found, is quite relaxing. I do really love people that. I love Afro beats at the moment as well, to be fair. I'm discovering a lot of Afro beat artists.
Like Burna Boy, sort of?
Kind of. There's a guy that makes Christian Afro beats. His name is Limo Blaze.
Limo Blaze.
Yeah, from Nigeria.
I'll give him a lesson.
Very good artist. So I love him. Yeah, I listen to it. My thing is just very all over the place. Like 1 minute it'll play like Coldplay, and the next it'll play like Meg Thee Stallion, and I'm like, oh, 2 different moods here.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you ever listen to Donda wasn't as much of a gospel album, but did you ever listen to Kanye West's previous album?
yes.
What did you think of it? Like from a spiritual, but that was because I was going through a very religious phase during that time,
Yeah.
and I really liked it because I really liked. Because obviously I didn't listen to Christian music on a reg, so it was nice to listen to that music and especially like have it in that light. How did you find that?
I really liked it because I'm a Kanye West fan anyway. So when he
Okay.
came out with this, I was like, oh yay, he's talking about God.
Yeah.
Woo. So I really liked it. I didn't really like Donda.
Yeah,
Not really a fan of that.
Overhyped.
Yeah.
Overhyped.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry,
We'll-
if that's on your list.
we'll add that.
Overhyped.
We'll
It
add
was
that.
overhyped. I was because I listened to it. I think I even fell asleep halfway through. But Kanye, if you go watch,
Burn.
I love you. I'm gonna let you finish, but it wasn't you. But no,
But not on Donda.
not on Donda. But no, it was. Yeah, I didn't really enjoy it. It wasn't his best project. Like I like The Life of Pablo.
Ooh,
I
TLP was good.
No, it was like I like that, and I think his last album sounded more similar to that kind of vibe. Whereas this one, I like some of the tracks, but I didn't find myself like going back to like, oh, I need to replay
Yeah.
the whole of that album. So yeah,
I think there's like pushing it, and then there's like Kanye's right now where he's at, and there's his pushing it, and there's a bit of like you're like, okay, maybe take one step back, just like it's
yeah,
some of
a
the
little
ones
step
that-
back.
Yeah.
and
So
we'll
what,
find
did you
the
prefer
balance.
CLB, which was Drake's album? Did you listen to Drake's album?
Yes.
So yeah, I liked it. It's just too Drake. Like it's so weird. I liked it because it was just too Drake. Like it didn't show any artistic sort of revolution or evolution.
This is the
you
thing.
know?
I didn't enjoy it because it was just Drake, and I felt like I'd heard that 1,000 times, and I was like, well, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say we listened to it and then never really spoke about it again. If that makes, and then like there's been a few like when you hear it out and about, you're like, okay, like you're listening to it, it's cool, it's
Yeah.
fine, but
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh my god, you need to
Yeah.
listen
So
to
the
this
only
album.
2 songs I ever hear was Fair Trade because he makes mention of Cape Town. So
Yeah.
every Cape Town
Yeah,
basic girl was posting on every Instagram story.
Drake and Jack Harlow mentioning Cape Town. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, that is the song of the century.
Instagram caption for the rest of the year.
South Africans love any mention of South Africa or Cape Town or like anything to do with South Africa. They will jump on that
Is
bandwagon.
it? He probably
They
did that
love
intentionally,
it.
didn't he? He was probably
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm gonna blow
Yeah.
off in South Africa
And the
now.
streams for that are crazy,
Yeah.
man. But there's some like crazy stories from like exactly that sort of thing happening in South Africa where artists blew up in South Africa and they don't realize. There was an artist called Rodriguez. Have you ever heard of Rodriguez?
No.
So this is a mad
Look 'em up.
story, man.
Good, really good.
Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Rodriguez,
so,
yeah.
so any South African eventually will tell you about
Any.
Rodriguez. It's like we're so lame.
Yeah.
Okay. But
We're so lame, but it's kind of cute.
yeah.
Like,
But anyway, this artist didn't know he was famous in South Africa. So during apartheid, what happened was a lot of all the records that were getting brought into the country were stopped. So there was in circulation. There was like this one track,
record.
record
Yeah.
of vinyl, and it was Rodriguez, and pretty much every South African household had it. had it,
Wow.
and it was really really big. And then for years, people thought he had died actually.
Yeah.
But what actually ended up happening, he was like some builder in like Detroit or something arbitrary. And then there was this guy, I think his name was Sugar or something. Oh no, his name wasn't Sugar.
No,
The song was Sugar Man.
Yeah, Sugar Man.
He then went looking for him, and then he ended up finding him in Detroit. He got to South Africa, and he's like selling out stadiums.
He's like literally
And it's
unbelievable.
it's an unbelievable story. It's a good
It gives
movie.
me goosebumps. Like the documentary is also
crazy.
incredibly
I need
made.
to write that
like,
down.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly.
finding Sugar Man.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
cool.
I think it won an Oscar.
Sounds
It
really
did, yeah.
interesting.
It's on it when you watch it. You're gonna be like, how is this real? Because this man had
Finding
like
Sugar
no
Man.
money, and he's selling out stadiums in a few months' time.
This is the craziest thing. He lived a life sort of poverty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was completely abject poverty, but he was he was working construction sites
Yeah.
and
It wasn't the life of a stadium sellout artist,
seller
basically.
artist. And he
crazy.
apparently arrived and it was so jarring the experience. He's like getting put in limousines.
Yeah.
But anyway, where can people find you? What are some of the things that you've got coming up? What's happening in your life at the moment?
What's happening in my life? So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a master's in TV comedy writing for TV, obviously, and radio. So I am working on a sitcom that I really want to push out there. But before I do
Are
that,
you gonna share any of the information on what that's
no,
about?
I'm not gonna.
Top secret.
Top secret.
Hey guys, I'm working on a project, but I can't talk about it right now.
Tell no one right now. It's
Yeah,
really top
sorry.
secret. My bosses will kill me. Like, there's no bosses. No one will kill me. It's literally just me. But I am gonna start working on short comedy films. So do expect to see them from me, because come next year I am absolutely gonna start venturing into that world. And that's it really. That's the things to look out for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course more online content. Gonna get back
Looking
into
forward
Yeah,
to
man.
it.
more of that. Yeah,
Yeah, nice. And I will add all your social media handles below.
please do.
Carl, my lovely editor, will add all your
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks,
Yo.
Phil.
logos and things over here. And yeah, I want to say thank you so much to Jess, my co-host. You've absolutely fucking nailed it.
Thank you.
Round of applause. Yeah, looking forward to having you on many more podcasts to come. Guys, please like, subscribe, do all of that stuff. And yeah, thank you again for listening to another episode of the Sit Down With Sibs. And yeah, bless.